Oh, good morning. Welcome back to the KR Daily Transmission. Um, yeah, so good to be back with you. We are having just a little bit of technical difficulties again this morning. We did a lot of research yesterday, and all of our research didn't matter for when we went live again today. So that's weird and okay, whatever. Here we are, though. We made it through. So it's really good to be here with you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in live. Feel free to introduce yourself on the chat. It's always so lovely to see where everyone's tuning in live from. Good morning, Jade. Jade's one of our beautiful Sophia Circle leaders. She's saying, I've been having some really strange tech stuff too. Smiley face. Thanks, Jade. It's always like technology is the great humbler in our modern world. It's just like when it's on, it's on, and when it's not working, it just it really impacts a lot. Good morning, Elise and Tanya from Bakersfield. Pam's tuning in from Scottsdale, Arizona. Mary is sending us hugs from Brazil. Julie is sharing from Southern Oregon that it's so good to see everyone this morning, which is really sweet. Thanks for saying hi. And oh gosh, it's just so cool to see everyone tuning in. Animal Spirit Cards by Hannah Stone. Hannah's watching from England. Hello, Hannah. I was going to say good morning, but I don't think that's the case. And Taryn's one of our team angels. Taryn Rose just tuned in live, and she's here to answer your questions. And so is Ashley Phoenix. Good morning, Ashley. Ashley is the head of our mystery school. We just have so many just amazing heart-centered team angels that are here to support you and your journey with the Sophia Code, with the Ascended Masters, and to help you navigate the enormous amount of resources that we have available on my website to support your spiritual journey. Karen's tuning in from Puget Island. Beautiful. Well, oh my goodness. Ariana's tuning in from Tahiti. Wow. You know, I was reflecting on this the other day with a team angel. The very first event that we had for the Sophia Code, the very first book signing, which actually happened at Mount Shasta, California. That's a picture of Mount Shasta in the background that I have here in my meditation room. And I don't know if you can see it better if I lift up the screen. There you go. You know, the very first book signing that we had for the Sophia Code, we literally had half the attendees fly in from around the world. The Sophia Code has always been an international movement. It became an international bestseller within 5 days, not just in the US. And when it became translated into French, it also became a bestseller both in French and in English in France the same day. And so I love that, you know, this is reflected in the chat and in the comment feed that our community is worldwide. And it's extremely meaningful for me. And I know for our team angels, because we pray for everyone that's connected to this movement, whether they're leaders or readers or part of our mystery school. Like we know how much the Sophia Code transforms lives, and we know what it takes to remain fully present and focused in that personal transformation. And we just feel such an enormous amount of gratitude for you and for your willingness to embody your higher self, to truly own the proclamation of the Sophia Code, which is that you are sovereign and you are divine, you are holy and you are liberated and free in these times of extreme challenges and honestly, like extreme oppression around the world. Like it's a truly extraordinary time to be willing to be alive, to keep our hearts open, as Mother Mary shares in the Sophia Code, and to practice listening to our hearts when the world events, which continue to traumatize humanity on a collective level, would have us believe that we should disown our feelings, that we should minimize the impact of this trauma. And when we tune into our hearts, when we open our hearts, when we welcome the presence of our higher self consciousness coming in to impact our daily human experience, we're saying we're going to look directly into the face of what's happening on this planet, and we're not looking away. And the reason why we can look so directly into the chaos, the confusion, the pain, the trauma, the suffering of this world, it's because we are filled with the light of Christ consciousness. It's because we have learned that there is spiritual technology within us that can literally anchor source frequencies, sovereignty within us, as beacons, as lighthouses of consciousness in this world. So we're not afraid to look into the heart of darkness on this planet, because we know that in our willingness to fully embody our heroic human journeys, that it invokes the radiance of 1,000 suns from within the center of our heart. It invokes our greatest, sober, sovereign, highest potential to come forth and meet that darkness with the power of our divine love. If you're feeling this message this morning, feel free to share your thoughts or a heavens yes, or however you're feeling in resonance with this. I love reading your feedback in the chat. I love reading your feedback in the comment field. Like, how does it feel to know that your heart is a chalice for this kind of invincible divine love to pour forth into this world? How does it empower your daily walk? How are you unplugging from the trauma propaganda machine of the news? How are you doing deeper research as to what's unfolding with world events right now, so that you can stand in your sovereignty through the compassionate witness of Christ consciousness and proclaim that divine will is here on this planet because you're here on this planet, embodying your angelic mission. And that's how powerful you are, and that's how powerful we are as a community of light workers that have dedicated our lives to embodying the truth of our sovereign divinity. Oh, I love that. Mindy's writing in, it feels great. This is the very best way to help. Yes, it is. And here's the thing. If there are actions that you are being guided to take through the consciousness of your higher self regarding world events, it is best to listen to your heart first, to become into a grounded, clear alignment with your body, heart, and mind first, and then access that divine guidance directly from your higher self, and then sit with that guidance. Allow your heart to sift through. Is this, excuse me, to use the power of discernment so that the guidance that you're hearing is really coming from a place of peace, centeredness, and empowerment. When we react from fear, when we try to fix out of that fear, it doesn't actually do anything but contribute to more fear. And this is why we come together every week for the KR Daily Transmissions, to connect with the Sophia Code teachings, to mentor with our Ascended Master friends, to focus on these very empowering themes every month. So for February, we were focusing on the journey of self-love. And in this month of March, we've been focusing on creativity and communication and all the different facets of what happens when we really tap into the creative power of our higher selves within us, as well as this conversation about communication through the lens of your divinity, through the communion with your higher self consciousness within you. Both how you articulate the divine guidance that you're receiving within your heart, your most authentic expression, but also how you're receiving communication from the divine, from your daily walk with your higher self, from the spiritual guidance you're receiving from your guardian angels, maybe your star family, the ascended masters, those beings that wish you well, that are here to empower your sovereignty. They don't need anything from you. They don't want to take anything from you. They are here to purely support and love you in the very powerful decision that you've made to be willing to be human, to be willing to be a willing, open heart in these times of great change. We are the stabilizing field, like in the collective consciousness of humanity. Every light worker consecrating their journey to the truth of their sovereign divinity, that's a stabilization field for the entire planet. We are contributing to the divine order, to the goodness, the abundance and prosperity consciousness. We're contributing to unconditional love. We are amplifying the compassionate witness aspect of humanity's collective consciousness. As we gather together and focus on those principles of consciousness within us that we want to grow and accelerate and amplify, this is spiritual leadership for all of us in our day-to-day lives. When we choose to focus upon the resonance that we want more of in this world, and it's perfectly reasonable, to turn on the news or hear somebody panicking about world events, and it's perfectly reasonable to feel like, oh, maybe I should be tapping into that level of fear to be prepared. Here's the thing, again, through your open heart and your higher self connection and your direct connection to God, if you are being guided to be prepared in some way for something, you will take concrete action steps that feel peaceful, whole, and empowering. So, for example, there are many steps that I have personally taken over the past 5 years that have been investments in the health of my body, heart, and mind, that no matter what happens in, day-to-day life or over the course of these extraordinary changes, the past 2 years would be a perfect example rather. I listened to the communication of my heart, and my heart was always guiding me about where to live, how to treat my body, what to eat, what to read, what to research, how to explore new ways of feeling empowered in my body and feeling empowered in just how I engage with life, learning about different topics that felt very powerful. It was like all of those steps were taken from a place of curiosity, even fun, like things that I never thought that I would explore. I've explored over the past couple of years because my heart's guidance was like, in response to these times, not in reaction to these times, but in response to these times, let's get creative and let's explore how strong your body is. Let's be creative and let's explore how sharp your mind can be, how much we can sharpen your mind's focus. Let's be creative and explore adventurous things that might be helpful in strange world events. And it's just like, when you explore your creative limits, both physically and emotionally and mentally, look, unexpected changes aren't going to shake you. It's because you've already explored the center of your power from the inside out. And this is the whole purpose of practicing your daily connection with your higher self, connecting with the ascended masters, and bringing that self-love practice in a very physical way into your body, into your finances, into your career, into your meditation practice, into your creativity practice. It's like, how fully alive are you? Fear shuts us down. When we are in an open-hearted space, we discover that there's always the present moment. We get to decide what's real in the present moment about fear or love. We get to decide in the present moment about how much resources are there for us or not. You get to become sober in the present moment. You cannot control the future. What you can come into alignment with is what is real in this present moment. What feels powerful in this present moment? What do I want to be curious and creative about in this present moment? What do I want to express that I've never said before in this present moment? That's really great practice for the next present moment and the next present moment. This is how we walk the way. And then when you are living life in that kind of alive space within you where you're really actively engaged with life, when opportunities come up that are new and different, that maybe bring you to a vulnerable edge, you're welcoming them in and you're saying, yes, thank you, I accept, I receive. And there's a muscle memory there of trying something new, trying something different that you didn't have before. For example, last night I was with my boxing coach and we were practicing different techniques, and we even put some of it on video. And I was watching some of the strikes on video, and it was like one thing to practice certain punches and kicks, and then it was another thing to watch it on video and get to connect between like, oh, this is what he's talking about because I can visually take it in. I had the muscle memory, and then I was visually watching like what I was learning. And I was reflecting on that, and I thought, even 5 months ago, I couldn't punch like that. And to be able to feel the power of that punch, to feel the power of my body throwing that punch, and also where my body wasn't being powerful, where it could get even more precise, where it could get even more focused, where it could get even more in alignment, where the speed could be increased. It's like I couldn't experience the joy of creating that kind of muscle memory of feeling the strength of my body without exploring something new, without taking the time to observe myself within that newness. It's so much fun to try new things that feel different and edgy and strong and powerful. And this is what our higher self consciousness, this is what your higher self, my higher self, the Ascended Masters, they're daring us into. They're daring us into our power. There's nothing wrong with your power. I want to shout that from the rooftops. It's like sovereign power is what we want to come into alignment with. Every time we feel into victimhood, we know we're stepping out of alignment with who we already are. How are you exploring the edges of your power? Feel free to share it in the chat. Feel free to write it in the comment feed. Like, how are you allowing your body and your heart to communicate to your awareness the ways that your body wants to feel more powerful, the way that your heart wants to feel more powerful, because it's choosing to stay open, it's choosing to stay curious, it's choosing to engage with life in edgy new ways that maybe you wouldn't have considered 5 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. This journey into your empowerment, whether it's mentally, emotionally, creatively, physically, this is what's calling us forth in this time. This is the time to become the lions, the lionesses, the dragons. This is the year of the dragons. And I want to share a dream with you that I had last week. I was thinking about it and I was like, yeah, this would be a good day to share that dream. kind of goes along with the boxing theme, and how we are choosing to lead from this space of unapologetic power. The only time we really start to feel that victim space is when we think other people have power outside of ourselves, because we have been taught to demonize our own power. The truth is that your sovereign divine power is an angelic light stream into this world. And the more that you proclaim it, reclaim it, explore it, create with it, and own it, the more powerful your experience of life and the more powerful opportunities could come and land into your reality, because you are no longer in conflict with who you really are. People have been taught to be afraid of their power because there's so many people that hold positions of matrix power on this planet that are abusing their power. And so collective consciousness of humanity, often in a very infantile state, is like, oh, power bad because people who have power are acting in a bad way. And it's just like, that doesn't even make sense. Power in itself is simply power, as Machiavelli taught us. And it is what we do with power that defines us. So what are you going to do with your power this year? How are you going to get inside of your power and flex those muscles and choose to open your heart wider this year? How is the light of your higher self asking to lead in new ways this year, asking to be seen? We're going to be talking a lot about this in Austin, which is our next live event happening May 2nd through the 4th, with an optional day on May 5th that's coming up for our Sophia Circle leaders. We're doing 3 outdoor fire ceremonies, which I'm super excited about. We're going to go super deep. It's going to be electric, like being in a room full of lightning that also lands. That lightning is going to land like rose petals in your heart as I'm coaching people on stage how to step up to the mic, how to be seen in their creative power, to discover the creative genius within themselves. And whether you choose to step up to the mic or not with me, like the electricity in the room with the Ascended Masters and our focus upon spiritual leadership is going to be absolutely riveting. You know, this is a community of light workers consecrated to sovereign leadership. These are individuals already choosing their sovereignty. So this isn't this isn't about like some 10-step workshop weekend. This is legit Sophia Christ consciousness container activating you into your highest sovereign reality. And that's what we'll be up to in Austin. And I'm going to share about this dream that I had because I want to share in a very vulnerable way as well from my own heart about what it's like to lead and what it's like to lead with these ascended masters. I've been channeling Mother Mary for one of my next books. I've gotten back into my writing practice this year, and which has been really challenging for me up until this year, because there's been so much that we've been building and creating for the Sophia Code Mystery School, for our international movement, for how much our movement has grown over the years. Welcome. So good to see everyone popping on live. And coming back into that daily practice of writing with Mother Mary has, once again, blown my hair back like it always does. Mother Mary is so powerful. She is such a powerful mentor to sit with. And of course, when you're working on inner child healing and more of those vulnerable spaces that have to do with your younger years, like she's going to be super soft with your heart the way Kuan Yin is. But when she is mentoring you in your leadership and your divine purpose, Mother Mary is such a fierce lioness, like no joke. I mean, she trained in the mystery schools of Isis, of Sekhmet. She was an oracular high priestess of Hathor. Like Mother Mary as a mentor for your spiritual leadership, she is going to invoke that high priestess within you. She is going to invoke that teacher, that advocate, that spokesperson, that, mystic. And she's going to say, hey, I see your highest potential and I'm not giving up on you. And I'm going to keep invoking you. You think you're invoking me? Mother Mary is saying, I'm invoking you and what is here to come forth from your heart in this lifetime. And again, please remember that spiritual leadership is service. It's service in any field of interest. It's service in any passion of your heart where you're connecting and helping others, or helping the planet, or helping animals, or helping the ecosystem. It's just like it's service to something greater than yourself that contributes to the collective. It doesn't have to look, like here I am sitting with a painting of Buddha and Kaia Ra is a spiritual leader. It's just our teacher. It's just like, it doesn't have to look like this. Spiritual leadership is the service of your higher self consciousness coming through you and instructing you and informing you as to how you're going to make a difference in your reality as it is here and now. And there are key archetypal teachings that we share about in the Stargate 2 curriculum of our mystery school, which we're going to highlight a lot in the Austin event, that naturally come up in any form of leadership, in any form of being seen, not just as like a original content creator, but in any way that you're serving others to expand, grow, heal, co-create with one another. So the dream. In the dream, which really goes, I offer that about Mother Mary because I was writing with Mother Mary last night. And once again, her voice was so fierce, like a Kali Ma fierce. Like, this book is going to surprise you when it comes out. It's surprising me how it's rewriting itself. I already had a manuscript from years ago, and I pulled it out. I reviewed the entire manuscript last month, and when I was going through it, I was being shown like, okay, this is being kept and this is going to be kept and these pieces are going to be kept, but there's a whole other part of this journey that's going to come in. And I was like, okay. And as I've been channeling from Mother Mary, where to begin again with this manuscript, oh my God, it's been really surprising me how bold and fierce she's coming through. And at the same time, really, how surprising is it though? Look at the times that we live in, right? Look at what Mary herself lived. Like, really examine the life of Mother Mary and what she went through with her family. Like, to sit at the cross of her son being executed, and then to have to flee her country of origin for her safety and the safety of her family. And for those of you who think that the crucifixion didn't happen and you want to tell me some other new age thing that you think really happened, like, go on with your bad self and believe whatever you want to believe, but I don't want to hear about it. I'll delete your comments about it. Like, that actually happened. So don't even bother writing me about it. I would never dishonor the pain, the suffering that Mother Mary went through to make you somehow feel better about yourself. If you can't deal with the fact that these things do actually happen on the planet. So just a little side note on that. You can keep that new age crap to yourself. So coming back around to the story of Mother Mary, like, she lived a really hardcore life, and her teachings and her outreach was profound because of the authentic pain and suffering that she experienced and the beauty that she created out of that. The willingness of her heart to step forward and be seen as a divine feminine Christ teacher at a time when women could be stoned to death for even speaking up in any way that the Marys did in their lifetime. So, you know, when I'm channeling Mother Mary, when I'm connecting in with her resonance, it's so powerful. Like, I literally almost have to brace myself sometimes because it feels like a lioness roaring into my heart when I hear the voice of Mother Mary. Sometimes it's not always that way, but there's, even when she's soft, even when there's just like, oh, it's just rose petals and the glory of Mother Mary, it's like there's this quiet ferocity. And that's what I love about Mother Mary. And it's what I love about all of the key codes in the Sophia code. There's this Kali Ma ferocity that really, ooh, the birds are going off outside the house. Yeah, they're feeling it. There's this Kali Ma ferocity that that's really an underlying divine feminine Christ principle that's resonating behind every single one of these key code mentors in the Sophia code. So this dream that I'm going to share about with you is it's connected to this Mother Mary resonance. And it's connected to her, like, Mother Mary's invocation of me to begin to channel this book from her in a way that I was completely unexpected. And So last week I had this lucid dream, and in the dream I walked into this mystery. I was I was already in this mystery school temple space, and there were many, many people there that were training, and they were training physically. They were, because in the ancient mystery schools, like, it wasn't just you sitting in meditation and learning how to pray or open up your third eye. It was like Asian mystery school training involved extreme physical training, like, I mean, like gladiator level physical training, depending on what level of oracular transmissions you were training for. Um, Especially if you were training to be an interstellar priestess or priest, where you were engaging with ships like in the Hathor times. I mean, your body had to be rock solid, strong, and healthy to be able to maintain that level of interdimensional communication and physical crossing over into different realities, blending in their densities or in their high frequencies, right? So um, the level of training in ancient mystery schools physically, I mean, I crave it. It's why I work out constantly. Like, it feels very natural to me, and it's why I love to encourage that. Whatever ways that you can get very physically strong and healthy, like, it's connected to the ancient mystery school way. It's just like we were expected to be exceptional on every level of our being, because that's where our greatest potential could be revealed. um, so I'm in this ancient mystery school that there's these really tall columns. The marble of the floors was this very, it was like a sand color with some warm tones to it. And anyways, I walked in, and there were these um, lines of, uh, it was kind of like, it reminded me of soldiers, but it was both men and women. It wasn't just men or women. It was mixed. And everyone was practicing different movements with these really intense bow and arrows. So like, it was like this whole archery exploration of, what's the right word? I can't think of the right word. There were these movements, there were these practice movements that were happening, and everyone was moving as one. And when I walked into the room, there was an acknowledgement that I had walked into the room, and this one woman came out of formation, and she took an arrow out of the back of her quiver, pulled it into the bow, and she pulled it back, taunt into the bow, and she had it pointed directly at my face across the room. And in that moment, I knew that I had one choice: that she was either going to kill me, or I could walk right up to her, and I could identify what she was invoking from within me by drawing this arrow and aiming it at me. And so my higher self told me, walk directly up to her and hold her gaze the entire time. And when you arrive, in front of her, I will tell you what to say. So I immediately walked directly up to this woman who had the arrow pulled, ready to shoot into my face. And I walked up to her, and I heard the words of my higher self speak through me and say, "You don't really want to kill me. You actually want to see me lead like an arrow. You don't really want to kill me. You actually want to see me lead like an arrow." That's what was being invoked from within me. Now, of course, like, lucid dreams or dreamscapes where, these are our classrooms. When we have lucid dreams like this, every person in the dream, more often than not, is simply an aspect of ourselves that's testing us. That's, testing our own consciousness. It's our own consciousness testing our human awareness to wake up within a lucid dream. So I had to ask myself, how am I ready to lead on a whole new level, like an arrow, clear, straight, true, hitting my mark every time? And I offer that dream to you because there's a lot of symbolism there. The first of which is that when we step towards our spiritual leadership, first of all, it puts us in front of an audience of people, that often feel like we're afraid of, like, that we have been conditioned to be afraid of the projections, judgments, and fears of others being pointed at us like daggers, like poisoned arrows towards us as we step into being seen in the radiance of our higher selves. But then what happened in that dream? The decision was made to directly face the fear of a poisoned arrow, of a potential fear, judgment, or attack, for leading and identifying that the attack wasn't actually an attack. It was an invocation of more power, more clarity, more sobriety, more sovereignty, more intensity, more joy, more passion, more not looking away, more lasered focused upon what is being wanted to come forward. What we think might be dangerous might not be dangerous at all. It might just be our own projected fears about what we're really here to become and to do in this lifetime. What would it feel like in your life to lead like an arrow? What would it feel like? What would change if you were so in alignment with your higher self that your decisions would feel like an arrow flying off of a bow that lands on its mark? Let's breathe into that with Mother Mary right here and right now, as we close today's KR Daily transmission with this expanded energy, this expanded invitation to being seen in our leadership, to being more curious about what we think we're afraid of, so that we can be more curious about what's actually calling us forth into a space of creativity and authentic communication that we might not have ever explored before. We welcome the presence of Mother Mary, and I'm also witnessing the presence of the goddess Diana, that Greek goddess of the divine feminine with her bow and arrow, so that you can feel this divine feminine principle, no matter what your gender is, this divine feminine aspect of God within you, that is your higher self, that is this divine communion between you and your divine source, that can literally lead like a flying arrow landing on its mark. How you communicate, what you're creating, when you come into flow, and come into alignment with the creativity of your higher self, the communication of your higher self, what is arising from you can fly like an arrow, can lead like an arrow, straight and true. I invite you to journal today, if you have a moment, or to pray or meditate or reflect upon, maybe on a walk, taking like a 10-minute walk to reflect upon where you are being invoked to lead like an arrow today through your higher self embodiment. Maybe it's a conversation you've never had before. Maybe it's exploring something physically with your body you've never done before. And even though it may feel vulnerable, you're willing to take the risk to feel the strength of who you are in a new way. I'd love to read your comments in this video replay, because we're coming to the close here. I'd love to read your feedback. Feel free to also ask any questions there as well. My team angels check through the comments on the YouTube videos. Thank you so much for joining us for today's KR Daily transmission. If you'd like to join us in Austin and lead like an arrow alongside us, feel free to check out our events calendar at kaira.com. It's always so great to spend this time with you, and we'll see you back here tomorrow here at Kaira Official for our Friday Q&A. For the KR Daily transmission. All my love to you. Namaste, beautiful angels. You're the ones.